Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varishthaya Ramakrishnaya te namah Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namasvi Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suri Satchitsukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapa. Actually, these classes are definitely very beneficial to me also because, religiously every month I have to set apart time, come. When other things are there, I say, no, I have a class between 3 and 4. So that way, that is the beauty of Swadhyay. It helps one individually. So last time we saw Narendranath was singing and then Thakur was in Samadhi. So for the first time, Yam observed this phenomenon called Samadhi. What is this? Maybe he might have heard or probably has never. They say, he himself writes, he has never seen or even heard of such a thing. Probably he is not familiar with much of the text because in Yoga Sutras, etc., clearly, Samadhi and all very much clearly discussed. So he is thinking, that's what really, see, the greatest influence of Sri Ramakrishna was his own life. Not what he talked or what he taught, anything. Because when they saw him, they were stunned by the depth of his spiritual dimension. Here he says, is it possible for a man to be so oblivious of the outer world in the consciousness of God? And even thinking of God, can he be completely forgetful of the world? You just imagine that condition. We are so conditioned to be part of this world. It's difficult even for us to imagine whether it's possible to forget an entity called world. But here's a person who is totally unaware of the external world. Totally unaware. No connection whatsoever. So he was simply stunned. And then when Narendranath sang, meditate, O mind, on the Lord Hari, the stainless one, pure spirit through and through. How peerless is the light that in him shines. How soul bewitching is his wondrous form. How dear is he to all his devotees. Even more beauteous in fresh blossoming love that shames the splendor of a million moons, like lightning gleams the glory of his form, raising erect the hair for very joy. That haripulation. Simply, the master shuddered when this last line was sung. The hair stood on end, and tears of joy streamed down his cheeks. See, pure devotional songs, if they are sung and if you are tuned to that mentally, you can, the highest manifestation is seen in Thakur. Exactly whatever is sung there is repeated, is exhibited in his very frame. That hair standing on erect, tears flowing down in that spiritual joy, etc. Now and then his lips parted in smile. Was he seeing the peerless beauty of God that shames the splendor of a million moons? Was this the vision of God, the essence of spirit? How much austerity, discipline, how much devotion, faith must be necessary for such a vision? See, M was a very intelligent person. See, we talk about God realization, God realization. What is that? What is God realization? What happens? Is it that? Is it what is called God's vision? Is how it happens. When something is sung like that, you are transported to that realm, and those signs are clearly exhibited on his very personality, on his very body. So the song went on. Worship his feet in the lotus of your heart, with mind serene and eyes made radiant, with heavenly love, behold that matchless sight. The song drew to close, and now sang the last lines. Caught in the spell of his love's ecstasy, Immerse yourself for evermore, O mind. In him is pure knowledge and pure bliss. Tagore also always used to say, immerse yourself, dubda, don't float. Floating will not do. Dive deep, dive deep. Dub 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 sagare, Amar Mohan, his famous song, himself used to sing. Says, if you search below, Talatal Patal Kujli, Papire Prem Ratran, how the gems of prema, love will be discovered. The sight of Samadhi and the divine bliss he had witnessed left an indelible impression on M's mind. He was simply stunned. He returned home deeply moved. Now and then he could hear within himself the echo of those soul intoxicating lines. See, Thakur so much used to advocate Satsanga and Sadhu Sangha. Why? This is the result. See, even if you have a trace of that orientation towards spiritual life, you will reverberate. When you go to your true satsang, it's not that you just listen and get away, no. Again and again it will come back to your mind. You will be reliving those precious moments. That's the beauty of satsang. Not that you have to have it in heaps. Whatever you do, if you are really oriented that way, and if you really go to a satsang of that caliber or quality, simply, you will be in that mood. You will be reliving those great moments, extraordinary, priceless moments again and again. It's not that it will vanish away. Immerse yourself for evermore, O mind. Those intoxicating lines were echoing within Yam. In him was pure knowledge and pure bliss. So how beautifully in this song both jnana and bhakti are harmonized. Is pure knowledge, highest truth. At the same time is also the pure bliss, ananda, love. The next day too was a holiday for him. He arrived at Dakshineshwar at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So abhi to unka nesha lag gaya. He has got that intoxication. So immediately next day was holiday. Again he comes at 3. Sri Ramakrishna was in his room, and Bhavanath and few other devotees were sitting on a mat spread on the floor. They were all young men of 19 or 20, seated in the small couch. Sri Ramakrishna was talking with them and smiling. So you'll also see there used to be people, but when it's a small room, we have all seen, can't hold too many people. Even if 15 people, 20 people are inside, it will look very crowded. But that's the number, somewhere between 10 to 15. That's where, you could kind of establish contact with everyone. Whoever is present, you wouldn't miss anyone. Whatever anyone said, that what was passing through anybody's mind. So it was a very closely held group, and she could really interact beautifully with everyone for that matter. No sooner Yam entered the room than the master laughed aloud and said to the boy, "There he comes again." He has come again, he says. They all joined in the laughter. Yam bowed low before him and took a seat. Before this, he had saluted the master with folded hands. See, already the change is coming. He was only saluting with folded hands initially. Now, he has started, he bowed down. He probably will do Bhumishta Pranam, everything slowly, more and more. This is just the beginning of the transformation. Folded hands like one with an English education. But that day, he learned to fall down at his feet in orthodox Hindu fashion. How to do pranam, he learned. See, everything was learning for him. Learning, simultaneously unlearning. Whatever were the other samskaras embedded in him, Thakur was just washing them away one by one, so to say, cleansing him. Presently, the master explained the cause of his laughter to the devotees. Why he laughed, explained. He said, a man once fed a peacock with a pill of opium at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The next day, exactly at that time, the peacock came back. It had felt the intoxication of the drug and returned just in time to have another dose. Exactly how apt is the example. Exact. So he had come yesterday, he had felt the intoxication. Before it completely wore off, and the last traces were there, he has come rushing again to have another dose so that it can continue. See, even intoxication also, I think those of you are aware, I don't know many, it's not that people keep on taking anything to intoxicate in a limitless quantity like that. As long as you feel that, it shouldn't completely, if you become dumb and it die out and there's no charm. Before it wears off, towards then again they take. So that they constantly, that intoxication is palpably felt. Yam thought this a very apt illustration. Even at home, he had been unable to banish the thought of Sri Ramakrishna for a moment. That's the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. One thing when Brahma devotee commented, sir, you are like that. Suddenly you will bite, then gone once and for all. Kutush kore kamla devenapi. That's the very language he used in Bengali. When you bite them, people don't even come to know. Then they are changed, transformed once and for all. So he couldn't banish the thought of Sri Ramakrishna even for a moment. His mind was constantly at Dakshineshwar, and he had counted the minutes until he should go again. He was just waiting. When can I go again? When can I go again? By then, he had understood when Sri Ramakrishna will be free, when he would take part, when he would take rest. So he wanted to get the full benefit of his company. So he chose the time. In the meantime, the master was having great fun with the boys, treating them as if they were his most intimate friends. So again, this again struck him with wonder. Here's a person yesterday who was deeply immersed in samadhi, totally unaware of the external world, totally unaware. But today, he's just laughing and cutting jokes as if they are his close, intimate friends. See, there's a big age difference. Sri Ramakrishna was 1936, means he was 46 years old. They were all 18, 19, teenagers. Peals of side-splitting laughter filled the room as if it were a mart of joy. The whole of Katham, excepting probably the last few months of his earthly existence, when he was so sick and so bedridden, he could hardly even get up, that kind of. Otherwise, everywhere you will hear only it was a mart of joy. Spirituality is not, doesn't mean long faces and sorrow and things like that. So if a person getting the joy of anything in the world, if it's something, how many times more should be the joy you get from the transcendental world? In the Taittiriya Upanishad, it's described 100 times more than that is that, 100 times more than that is that, and finally it talks about the boundless, infinite Brahmananda. So it scales 100 times you say. So the whole thing was a revelation to him, he thought. Didn't I see him only yesterday, intoxicated with God? Wasn't he swimming then in the ocean of divine love, a sight I had never seen before? Wasn't he who scolded me on the first day of my coming here? Didn't he admonish me, saying, "Are you a man of knowledge?" Wasn't he who said to me that God with form is as true as God without form? Did he tell me that God alone is real and all else illusory? Wasn't it he who advised me to live in the world unattached like a maid servant in a rich man's house? So the contrast between these two personalities. One that was completely immersed in God consciousness. Person completely oblivious to the external world, anything connected to that. Advocating pure, unadulterated spiritual culture, spiritual living that way. And here is just like any other ordinary person making fun, laughter and all that. So Krishna was having great fun with the young devotees. Now and then he glanced at M. He noticed that M sat in silence. The master said to Ramlal, you see, he is little advanced in years and therefore somewhat serious. He sits quiet while the youngsters are making merry. M was then about 28 years old. He was about 8-9 years older than the rest, that group that was there. So that also Thakur noticed. Nothing would go unnoticed. He was sitting quietly in a corner. That also he caught him. Oh, he is sitting quiet because of his age. He is not able to appreciate. See, the younger you are, less and less are the worldly ties and bondages and worries and so on. So these youngsters were carefree. They had no worldly bondage that time. Family was not weighing heavily on their shoulders. So they were absolutely joyful. They had nothing to lose. They were carefree. But here is a person, he had a wife and mother and a constant fight and children and so on and so forth. Obviously he was burdened by the world. So his years have taken toll on him because of his other involvement. But the youngsters were different. So Thakur always used to ask, it's the reason why he asked, are you married? Because he knows once you're in the family, you have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of other things come. So he says that's why he's not able to laugh like others. The conversation drifted to Hanuman, whose picture hung on the wall in the master's room. In Dakshineshwar, you will know there are many pictures of different gods and goddesses in his room, and would always get inspiration seeing them. Ramkrishna said, just imagine Hanuman's state of mind. He didn't care for money, honor, future comforts or anything else. He longed only for God. When he was running away with a heavenly weapon that had been secreted in the crystal pillar, Mandodari began to tempt him with various fruits so that he may come down and drop the weapon, but he couldn't be tricked so easily. In reply to her persuasions, he sang this song. What is this incident? The story referred to here is told in the Ramayana. Ravana had received a boon as a result of which he could be killed only by a particular celestial weapon. So even when they get boons from gods and goddesses, there will be some click, some catch somewhere. They will not say you will never die. They say you will die only under certain circumstances, which are very, very difficult to be fulfilled. So that they will have long life. So he had received a boon, he could be killed only by a particular heavenly weapon. This weapon was concealed in a crystal pillar in his palace. Nobody knew. He had buried it completely there, inside. One day Hanuman, the guise of an ordinary monkey, came to the palace and broke the pillar. Hanuman knew, because of his devotion to Rama or whatever it is, because of his spiritual power, he was a sadhaka, so he could know. He broke the pillar and he was running away with the weapon. Because now, so Mandodari saw that he would die. Now Ravana, his death was imminent, because if the weapon is taken away, using that Ravana could be easily killed. So he was tempting Hanuman to give back that weapon and offered him fruits. She thought that he does not know about the worth of it. Just like that he was stealing. She said, no, you take fruits and give it. He soon assumed his own form and sang the song given in the text. What is that? Am I in need of fruit? I have the fruit that makes this life. fruitful indeed. Have that fruit which makes his life really worthy, a fruit of Rama's blessing. Within my heart, the tree of Rama grows, bearing salvation for its fruit. The tree of Rama in my heart, what is the fruit? It gives the fruit of salvation, moksha. Under the wish-fulfilling tree of Rama, do I sit at ease, plucking whatever fruit I will. Under the Rama Kalpataru tree, I sit carefree. I pick any fruit that I like. But because you see, whatever you want, you get from a Kalpataru. That is the beauty of this Kalpataru, the wish-fulfilling tree. So whatever I need, I get. All the fruit that I need, I can get. But if you speak of fruit, no beggar I for common fruit. Behold, I go, leaving a bitter fruit for you. You think I'm going to be satisfied by ordinary fruits? I'm not a beggar of that. I want that highest fruit. So I'm going away, leaving for you a bitter fruit. As Ramakrishna was singing the song, he went into the samadhi. Again, the mood completely changes. Here he was making fun and laughing and all that. Suddenly, it's a complete change of scenario. Again, in the half-closed eyes and motionless body that one sees in his photograph, just a minute before, the devotees had been making merry in his company. Now all eyes were riveted on him. Thus, for the second time, M saw the master in samadhi. The scene is totally changed. He is completely absorbed, and all the fun and frolics all gone. So again, M was stunned. How he could simply switch gears, change in a minute, in a trice, into something totally different. See, is it easy? Supposing we are laughing, we are doing something, it's very, very difficult for us to get out of that. Even if you are very sorrowful or unhappy or whatever it is, it lingers for a long time. If in a second, in a trice, if you can change, that means whatever he was doing, in connection with the world, they were all just at the surface level. They had nothing to do with his deeper personality. See, as far as we are concerned, whatever we do, including the world, we are so deeply absorbed. We are so concerned. We are drowned in it. That happiness or sorrow or suffering or anything, as if our whole life is only that. That's how we exhibit. That's how we wear our emotions. But here is a person who is laughing and this and all that, but just there at the outermost level or layer of his personality, in a trice, he could brush them aside and dive deep into the highest state of superconsciousness, namely samadhi. The master said to Narendra and Nam, I should like to hear you speak and argue in English. Again, the mood changes. So, he wanted to put him at ease. He had come. He had to be introduced into the company, Others were much younger to him. They were also not paying much attention to him. M was also very reserved because of his age. He was sitting in a corner. So Thakur wanted to kind of make them feel at ease in each other's company. He was introducing him to them, and he told to Narendra, I think both of you should talk and argue in English. They both laughed, but they continued to talk in their mother tongue. They laughed. A little of the hesitation is going away slowly. They were continuing to talk in Bengali. It was impossible for him to argue anymore before the master. Pehla din to डांट खाया. Whatever the hammering he got on the first day, would he ever argue again? That's what says. This is the first and last time him argued before Sri Ramakrishna. Why? Was Ramakrishna illogical or anything? Every word of his was so logical. He had nothing to refute or defend. So he thought, no point, why waste my time? When I know, see, when do we argue? when we feel we are right, when we feel we know the truth, when we feel we are correct. Is it not? If you know before someone in whom you have so much trust, supposing we have so much trust and faith in somebody, will you argue with such a person? You will always know that person must be correct, because I've always found him to be like that, and that person always wishes my welfare only. So why waste time arguing unnecessarily? It was impossible. Those Ramkrishna insisted, they did not talk in English. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all the devotees except Narendra and Yam took leave of the master. Slowly everyone was going away. People have to go home because they are youngsters. Their parents should be looking for them. They have to answer, so they have to get back. It was not like these days you can come back at night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or 2 o'clock. No, youngsters have to come back in time, otherwise they will be scolded. As Yam was walking in the temple garden, he suddenly came upon the master talking to Narendra on the bank of the goose pond, Haspukur. That's in when now there. So Yam was walking, others had left, Narendra was still there. Paku was talking alone to Narendra. Many times Sri Ramakrishna would talk only to Narendra exclusively, giving him some very special instructions about spiritual life, which he would not share with anyone else. Sri Ramakrishna said to Narendra, "Look here, come a little more often. You are a newcomer." Narendra also had not started coming too often. It was maybe he was coming only for. He had also started coming recently to Thakur. It was not too old. He was not a long acquaintance or anything. So he said, "Come a little more often. You are a newcomer." On first acquaintance, people visit each other quite often, as is the case with a lover and a sweetheart. Initially, when the love just blossoms, they want to meet each other very frequently, always thinking about the other person. He says, "Come. You have to come a little more often." So Ramakrishna also is saying how much he loves Narendra. Narendra and Yam laugh. "So please come, won't you?" So he is asking, wants to extract from Narendra. And the member of Brahma Samaj was very particular about his promises, because he was very committed to the principles of Brahma Samaj. He wouldn't tell a lie. He said, "Yes, sir, I shall try." As they were returning to the master's room, I think by then Narendra probably must have left, Sri Ramakrishna said to Yam, "When peasants go to market to buy bullocks for their plows, they can easily tell the good from the bad by touching their tails." You know, where from he has never gone to a bazaar to buy bullocks or anything like that. Somehow he has observed or heard. He says, by touching their tails, on being touched there, some meekly lie down on the ground. The peasants recognize that these are without metal and so reject them. They select only those bullocks that frisk about and show spirit when their tails are touched. They are so sensitive. The moment to touch their tail, they start simply jumping about. This Narendra is like a bullock of the latter class. He is full of spirit with him. He compares Narendra. He is not an ordinary person. Remember, there is so much of spirit in him, firebrand. Just touch him a little, scratch him, but immediately he will come heavily with a big effort. The master smiled as he said this and continued, "There are some people who have no grit whatsoever. They are like the flattened rice soaked in milk, soft and mushy, no inner strength." Again, another wonderful example. You know, Chuda. If you take that flattened rice and soak it in milk, what will happen? In no time, it becomes so soft. Simply, it kind of, melts into the milk, so to say. There's nothing left of it. There's no inner strength. Some people are like that. So, what happens? What is the example of this this kind of flattened rice? See, it completely gets absorbed in that liquid. It has lost its all qualities, individuality, everything. It's all gone completely. It's almost like it has become like part of milk. Some people are like that. They lose their everything in the company they keep. Nothing is left of them. They are so easily overpowered, so easily changed, so easily converted, so easily they take to different ways, thinking everything. So that's what happened when you soak flattened rice in milk. Nothing is left of that. Initially, it was flattened rice.
We say cheated falar Maharaj. Cheated falar. That's the expression we use in Pula.
See, when you normally this chida, flattened rice, is not bad, it's crisp by itself when you take it in your hand. It is a strength also. The moment you put it in milk, simply it gets kind of totally, it becomes powerless, so weak and nothing is left of it virtually. So that means what? There are some people, they have nothing of that vibe or strength or anything in them. They get completely subsumed by the company or wherever they go. So that's why it's so important to keep holy company, Thakur would say. Otherwise, because most of the people don't have that kind of a tremendous inner strength or power or determination or that goal-mindedness or a deep spiritual orientation. What little we have, we completely lose when we go to that kind of company. It's all gone totally. It was dusk. The master is meditating on God. He said to him, go and talk to Narendra. Then tell me what you think of it. So Ramkrishna always used to encourage his disciples, talking to each other, meeting each other, exchanging views. So he would promote satsang or holy company. He said, you go and meet him, talk to him. Come and tell me how you feel about it. Evening worship was over in the temples. Yam met Narendra on the bank of the Ganges and then began to converse. And they had still not left. He was still there only. He was meditating, roaming about there. So Yam saw him and they began to talk. Narendra told Yam about his studying in college, his being a member of the Brahma Samaj and so on. He gave his own introduction. It was now late in the evening and time for Yam's departure, but he felt reluctant to go and instead went in search of Sri Ramakrishna. Imagine what an effect. Just second or third time he is meeting. Simply he says, I don't feel like going home. It was time, he had come at 3 o'clock, probably it was 7 or 8 o'clock. After 5 hours staying there, he says, I don't feel like going. Again he is going in search of Sri Ramakrishna. Where is he? He had been fascinated by the master's singing and wanted to hear more. They had heard him. Sri Ramakrishna, they say, had such a divinely gifted voice, so sweet and wonderful, soul-stirring. So he wanted to hear. He had been fascinated by the master's singing and wanted to hear more. Actually, slowly the inner conversion is starting to happen because M was deeply given to the pursuit of knowledge, jnana. He was a believer in that nirakar, in that oneness, in that formless idea of reality. Where is the scope for bhakti and emotion and getting melted by songs and all that? But slowly, Sri Ramakrishna's influence was so powerful, simply he was being consumed by Sri Ramakrishna's that extraordinary prema. At last he found the master pacing alone in the North Mandir in front of Kali temple. You know, there's a huge prayer hall in front of the Kali temple. That temple, just the veranda in front of it is very small. There's in between this connection, a pathway or something like that, it will be huge prayer hall or not mandir. A lamp was burning in the temple on either side of the image of the Divine Mother. In those days there was no electricity. 2 oil lamps were burning. The single lamp in the spacious Nath Mandir blended light and darkness into a kind of mystic twilight in which the figure of the Master could be dimly seen. There's just only a small lamp burning in the huge, big Nath Mandir. So there, the Master's figure could be seen dimly. It is a very beautiful ambience. Yam had been enchanted by the Master's sweet music. With some hesitation, he asked him whether there should be any more singing that evening. Aar kichh aaj gaan hobe? Will there be any more singing today? No, not tonight, said Sri Ramakrishna after a little reflection. It was all over. Thakur was no longer in that mood. Perhaps he wanted to be alone. He was contemplating on the Divine Mother. Then, as if remembering something, he added, but I am going soon to Balram Bose's house in Calcutta. Come there and you'll hear me sing. Yam agreed to go. So there's another way where Sri Ramakrishna would bring all his devotees together. They would all come. Calcutta, he would go and he would send information to all those who are very close, and they will all gather. Today in Balram Bose's house, then tomorrow in Adarsen's house, then in someone else's house. Like that, they will all come to different places. And again, there will be a lot of that wonderful singing and kirtan, and then wonderful spiritual talks. And then at the end, all will be fed nicely, good prasad and all that. It always used to be an occasion for great joy and wonderful spiritual atmosphere. So he says, you come to Balram Bose's house. Master, do you know Balram Bose? No, sir, I don't know. He lives in Bosepara. Well, sir, I shall find him. In those days, it was not difficult to have an address. You don't need a Google map and all that. Those days, it was easy. There were not too many. It was not so crowded, They were all individual houses, not thousands and thousands of flats in a small location. Not that way. So it was easy. I'll find out. So Ramakrishna walked up and down the hall with him. He said to him, suddenly he asked, let me ask you something. What do you think of me? Well, this question, Ramakrishna, I think not just once, more than once. He says, probably, Sri Ramakrishna clearly says, those who are very close to me, those who are antarangas, those who belong to the inner circle, they want 3 things. They don't come and straight away say, come and give me mukti, come me liberation. No. They wish to know who am I, who they are, and the relation between us. Who am I, who they are, and what is our relationship. Why he calls them antaranga, belonging to the inner circle? This is far more deeper and important than just asking for liberation. Will ask for liberation. How must they understand about that? Where will they go? What is getting liberated? But the real inner pursuit or the real spiritual goal is to understand God completely in all his dimensions. Who is God? Who is Jiva? That is oneself. And what is the relation between the Ishvara, the Paramatman and the Jivatman? This is so important. That's why are we here? See, these 3 questions resolve so many mysteries of life. Our birth, our functioning here, our activities, why we are here, how we are here, where we will go. See, this answer all these once and for all. Simply asking for mukti, maybe they are tired of the world, they are suffering, they have had a lot of blows and all that. Just out of that they are saying. They have not really understood the real meaning of either mukti or of God or anything. So that is why he calls these people as antarangas. So he himself is, setting in motion that very question, that a very important topic. What do you think of me? He's asking. Yam remained silent. Again, Sri Ramakrishna asked, what do you think of me? How many annas of knowledge of God have I? Just to give him a lead, what he should say, in which direction he should answer. He is saying, how many annas of knowledge of God we have? So a clear test as to what M is thinking about Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual dimension. What all he had witnessed in the few meetings, whether the real inner transformation of M is taking place. What is there in his heart? He's asking very clearly a very straight question. Yam, I don't understand what you mean by anas. But of this I am sure. I have never before seen such knowledge, ecstatic love, faith in God, renunciation and Catholicity anywhere. See, you must be a very intelligent person. You clearly understood Sri Ramakrishna. I have never before seen such depths of knowledge, devotion, love, faith, Catholicity, everything one can think about a spiritual person. It was complete in all respects, Sri Ramakrishna. It was not unidimensional or only in one direction or one idea. Everything was complete. Jnana, yes, to the full. Bhakti, to the full. Catholicity, space for others, inclusion, everything was there. So Sri Ram had understood him completely, so to say. The master laughed because now he knew that Yam has really caught the fire. He was just going in the right direction. That's why Sri Ramakrishna, although he scolded him in the first meeting, he clearly said, I see spiritual signs in you. After all that he said, after all that chiding, after the scoldings and all that, the final verdict of Sri Ramakrishna was, these are all just external. You're being here, you're getting married, you're having children, these, that, they're all different. You have spiritual tendencies. So it's very, very important for all of us to remember. See, just by work of fate, whatever we might have done in our earlier births and whatever it is, we may be somewhere, we may be in a family, we may have spouse, children, whatever it is. But what really matters, to get close to Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swamiji, what we need is, do we have those spiritual tendencies which Sri Ramakrishna talks about? That was the real clincher as far as Yam was concerned. Whatever else he might have done, but that lifeline, namely the spiritual tendencies which Sri Ramakrishna saw in him, that was the real clincher, and that ensured that he was really fit for the highest kind of grace, and the saving grace of Sri Ramakrishna would act on him. He was a fit instrument, was duly qualified because he had that spiritual tendency. So it's so important. That's why Sri Ramakrishna gives, is a person, is a supremely spiritually elevated soul, or whatever you might call him, but he gives such a wonderful hope to every one of us, wherever one might be, whatever we might have done. But do you have that spiritual tendency? Then that brings you close to Sri Ramakrishna and makes us really participate in his boundless distribution of that grace and his karuna. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Paramastu. Anyone has any question?
Pranam Maharaj, thank you for the time. Our viewers, any of you have any question, please? Indrani has raised her hand. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Pranam Maharaj. So Maharaj, just before you mentioned this point about spiritual tendencies, I was in fact thinking, this question came to my mind, that you were mentioning Antaranga So, so this question comes to our mind that in such antarangas, so close to Thakur, but even then when we look, for instance, in Girish Ghosh or in the life of M, sometimes we find such disturbing personal circumstances, etc. So I was about to ask you, Maharaj, that how do we see this? Do we see this just as a part of his Leela or as karmic?
See God's grace, you come to a spiritual personality, doesn't mean overnight milk and honey will start flowing in your life. One has to work out one's samskaras, the karma phalas, whatever we had brought with us, the huge baggage. But by His grace, it will all be cleared in a trice, so to say. Mother says, by God's grace, if your foot was to be cut off, just it will be the karma phala will be experienced by the pricking of a thorn. That is the saving grace or power of God. It doesn't mean that you will completely, everything will be turned upside down overnight. You will be immersing in samadhi all the time. No, you have to work hard, fight. There will be ups and downs, problems, difficulties. Again, we will, because our samskaras will overpower us. But because of the redeeming power of Sri Ramakrishna, it will all go away with minimum suffering, minimum that kind of troubles and undergoing such tumultuous circumstances. It will all be, if you have faith, He will take care of that. It will all happen. In fact, in some people's lives can be very difficult also, extremely tough. People have gone through extreme agony, sorrow, suffering, death, deprivation, whatnot. But those who held on, they won the battle ultimately. That's the secret. Whatever might happen in the external world. That's why, see, even when things are not that bad, when we have little time to discriminate, to think, understand logically and all that, somehow the ability to hold on to Him under any circumstance, if you can grow and develop this one particular trait, that would save us later on. When more blows come and more difficulties come and more terrible circumstances come in our life, all that would be taken care of at that time.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranam, Maharaj.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, one more question is so this period is when M did not know Narendranath Datta. This was This is where he
he was getting introduced to him for the first time.
Okay, I thought he also came from his school or from his college.
No.
Okay. Umaji has raised her hand.
Yes.
M did not want to go back home.
Yes.
After meeting 2-3 times Sri Ramakrishna ji. So I want to, if you ponder over a little more about what are the reasons that could be, perhaps it may pave our way more clearly for the program.
See, because he was so much possessed, so much absorbed, so much fascinated by whatever he saw. So obviously, naturally, whatever we like, we like to be in that atmosphere. Suppose a wonderful musical program is going on. We are a lover of music. We want to be there. So whatever we like to do. But something is there which is so overpowering, maybe 100 times, 1,000 times more powerful than whatever we can imagine or even think of. How would anyone like to go away from that? Moreover, in the case of Yam, it's a direct contrast. He was going through such a terrible time in the house. What was for him? From here means he has to go back home and again be back in that troubled times or circumstances. As against that, he was in a bliss here. He need not think about anything. He was completely, his mind was so elevated. Why he would like to go? More so because of his difficult times at home. See, naturally, Supposing somewhere, if you are in deep sorrow, would you like to go back? Or you would like to be in a place where it is full of bliss and joy and happiness? So obviously he was like that. He liked it so much.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So namaskar. Thank you.
Pranam Maharaj. If not,
Mother willing, we'll meet next month.
Yes.
See.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.